You're listening to the Voices of Recovery podcast. This is a special episode featuring a recovering addict. Hi, my name is Sophie X. I'm the host and producer of the Voices of Recovery podcast. I'm joined here today by Laurie. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Sophie.
Welcome to the Voices of Recovery. Thank you so much for being on our special series for working in recovery and for doing our readings for the end of April.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. You came highly recommended from a good friend of ours who was on the podcast in the early days on the series of relapse and recovery, and her name is Danielle. Danny the girl, she's known as in the rooms. And I wanted to get the perspective, especially of women who work in the field of recovery. And typically, it's mostly men, right, in the rooms. But surprisingly, there's a lot of women who work in the field of recovery specifically. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with nurturing, right? Women are nurturers. And so I wanted to hear about your perspective. How did you come into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous? What led you into working in recovery? And how have you stayed clean for over, what is it now, 20 years, right?
Yes.
Going on 21?
Yes.
Take it away, girlfriend.
Okay. So I got clean at 41 years old. I have one clean date. Relapse is not part of my story. I'm grateful for that. And when I had about 15 years, uh, by way of maybe a therapist, I got encouraged to look into doing something else other than what I was doing, which was not very recovery oriented.
What were you doing at the time?
Bartending.
Oh, right. Well, people, places, and things.
Yeah. It wasn't triggering me in any way, and I actually still go. I still go a lot of shows. I still go around people, places, and things. But the peer advocate thing was sort of new. I never really wanted to be a CASAC. I would hear people share that it like impeded in their own recovery, or it wasn't great money. It seemed like a lot of schooling. I'm not college educated. I had 1,000 hours of cosmetology, which I never actually sat the test, but I did do cosmetics for a number of years. Since I got clean, I was doing a lot of part-time work, doing a bunch of different things. I was like delivering bread with a boyfriend of mine. I was babysitting. I was still doing the cosmetics like freelance. And I really liked that balance of not working anywhere full time. But it was time for me. I was like, sort of embarrassed to be saying I was a bartender with 15 years clean. So it was time for me to do something different. And I ended up going to Thrive for actually for Coda. I was doing Coda on a Friday afternoon.
Which is Codependence Anonymous.
Yes. At Thrive over here in Hauppauge. And there was a girl that was my customer at the bar, and she was running the place. And I could see how well she was adjusted into her recovery process and how the peer advocate thing was working in her life. And she said, you could do it too. So, by way of a sponsee of mine, we wrote the letter into Thrive to apply for the class and the scholarship.
And just for everybody who doesn't know, Thrive is a local nonprofit organization
It is.
here in Nassau County in New York. We have listeners actually from all over the world. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and Thrive is it's actually run by nonprofit. I'm not gonna say who it was, who runs it, but it's a recovery center.
It's a recovery center. All
And
things recovery. I mean, so many programs.
the people that give the class give out scholarships. They get it from the opioid settlement grant. And I qualified for the scholarship.
What is the opioid settlement grant?
We got money from all of the deaths that caused from big pharma lying to people about Oxycontin,
Oh my
and New
gosh.
York got a lot of the money, and we used it to help train people to become peer advocates or recovery coaches because I'm actually both. The money is not always used in the right place, but there was a recovery association called Lyra run by the late Richard Buckman, and he was an amazing man who trained a lot of us. A lot of our peer advocates around here were trained by him. He just passed away recently. So the funds were distributed in certain places where we're helping other addicts get clean and stay clean. And I qualified somehow for this scholarship.
What do you need to qualify for it?
Well, I gave a little bit of a hardship letter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I said I was working at the bar, but I wasn't making that much money. I was living here with my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I was driving a pretty crappy car. I was looking to change my career, change the trajectory of my career. And they not only gave me the scholarship for the class, but I got a scholarship for the testing fees as well. It wasn't that much money, but it was just what I needed to change my life pretty much. Because with the 15 years clean, I just wasn't really being a productive member of society. So I took the class. I passed the test with this girl's help. The girl that I said was running Thrive. She became a supervisor of the recovery coaches at Thrive. And she just encouraged me. She came over and helped me study for the test. And so with that, there was a career fair. I didn't even have a resume. I didn't know how to type. And even though I'm really here to help addicts, I do have to have some computer skills to do this job.
Of course. Don't need the
So,
computer skills behind the bar.
right. And so there's some volunteer hours that come with when you get your CERPA, Certified Peer Recovery Advocate, there's a provisional that you get. And some of the volunteer hours you can get paid for. But when I was working over at Thrive, they were looking at my computer skills and saying, maybe she's not cut out for working here. And that's for the FCA and
What's the FCA?
Family and Children's Association.
Gotcha.
They're the people that have Thrive. So they helped me with my resume. I had someone pretty much write my resume, and I had this cosmetic stuff on there. I didn't have anything to do with working in the recovery field. And somehow I took that resume to a career fair at Nassau or Suffolk Community College, and I met my boss, Keisha, and another counselor, Doug, over at the town of Babylon. They took the resume and they hired me on the spot, and
Wow.
I still work there 6 years later. My hours have increased over the years. It was 2019. Everything went remote pretty quickly. I actually went to Italy in February of 2020. So I delayed the start of the jobs because I had the Italy thing planned. Didn't know about the COVID thing happening while I was over there. And I was
Wait, so
still,
COVID happened while you were in Italy? Oh
yes.
my goodness.
And
So you came back and the world is on lockdown?
yeah,
Oh my God.
and we brought masks with us, but we didn't know anything about it, and people were saying we couldn't come over after, and so then everything went remote, and except for that job at the bar, I know I didn't get any like extra $600 or anything. It was just closed. I was losing money, so now I'm making more money, and I'm having to do resource lists, and now my brother's helping me. My brother's helping with Microsoft Word and Excel, and he's really doing a lot for me with, I'm still typing with one figure and doing everything with the microphone if I can. I'm talk texting as I still do that. I make it work to the best way it can work for me without being, skilled in those areas. I didn't get a job over at Thrive because I got these other two jobs and I'm still there. And my hours have increased. I lost my Medicaid. I asked if I could get more hours so that I could get insurance, and they came up with this other position where I work at the housing authority in Hempstead. So I passed the test and I became a certified peer recovery advocate. And I also took the other one where I'm a certified addiction recovery coach. So I have 8 letters after my name with no college,
That's amazing.
and I absolutely love it. And then I lost that job at the bar. And I had worked there 10 years, and he was a friend. He grew up right over there, next block over. He owned the bar. And I was really hurt by it. And I was worried about missing the physical aspect of it. And I know that you're a physical
Hmm.
person. So I was worried about like gaining weight and stuff like that. And it would hurt my feelings. But as I was going through that, I was on the meeting, the once a month meeting that we have with the peers. And they always let you know about open jobs. And someone was looking for in person. At that point, I thought maybe an in person, because the bar was obviously in person, would be good for me, and I picked up Thursday nights at another agency. So now I work 3 part-time jobs. My hours kept increasing. I'm doing almost 50 hours in 4 days.
Wow.
I have paid vacation. I have full health insurance. They give me off for my birthday. Some of it is remote, some of it is in person. I help people for a living. I still help people. I'm still a visible member in NA. I just spoke on the second step. I'm getting speakers for a virtual meeting, which I'll be doing in there in a couple of hours. Sunshine Sisters, been involved in that meeting for quite a while.
I've been on that meeting before.
Yes,
Yeah, I've been on that meeting before. The Sunshine Sisters, of
yes.
course.
Yes, I've been involved in that meeting for quite some time. That keeps balance in my life. So, I'm a Libra. So as a Libra, I struggle with balance. But like when everything opened up, I kept one virtual meeting in my life. I do the remote and the in-person work. I still go to my home group is in person. I still go to a lot of meetings. I'm a very visible member. I'm always at the Nassau Convention. I help people for a living, but I also help people in NA. And I absolutely love what I do. I mean, now I'm proud to say, when I was a bartender, I was embarrassed to say what I did for a living, even though I did have fun. Like, not let's not deny it. It was a fun job. Um, but this is so much more rewarding. I'm still typing with one finger, and if I can, talk to my email and copy and paste it in, I can. I call my brother a lot, and we go on Teams calls, and he helps me when I get stuck. Lucky I have him that, I call him with any crisis I have. And they know that my technology skills are lacking, but that's really not what I got hired for. I got hired for helping addicts that are in a crisis. So I'm 6 years in, and I don't think I'm going anywhere. I don't feel like I want to change jobs. So I started out saying relapse not part of my story, which means I used drugs consecutively for 29 years. Um, which, you could say I was pretty good at it if I was able to use for that long. So I started out, right here in this house. I went to kindergarten from this house. I started out smoking weed like most kids. I'm a product of the 70s. I did what everybody else did. It was before crack. People weren't sniffing heroin back then. So we were like taking mescaline on the first day of school and thinking that was funny. And then when my friends like didn't want to do it, and I'd be like, "What? Why aren't we doing this?" They also all went off to college. I didn't. Like I said, I did the hairdressing school, worked in restaurants. I got married young. I married a guy from Scotland who we were engaged and he got deported. So I flew to London and married him at 23. He was, of course, born with a disease, pretty severe alcoholic. We managed bands like punk bands at CBGB's, and I had a wild young marriage. Left him, went to San Francisco, and then there I tried to avoid the drugs they were doing there because it was, unfamiliar to me, like crystal meth and ecstasy and stuff. My codependency, which I mentioned earlier, my codependency led me to those drugs because I was doing whatever drug the guy was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're doing crystal, like I'll do that with you, and
Yeah,
then
you're doing it, we're doing it,
and
right?
then the sex and all
Mm-hmm.
that, like went with it. You're skinny, all that stuff. But I did go to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting in 1997 in the Haight, the famous place where the Summer of Love happened and the Grateful Dead lived. And I lived walking distance from
Are
there.
you a deadhead too?
A little bit.
So many deadheads. All you guys are deadheads. I've had probably like 8 deadheads on this podcast so far. It's insane. You
I
guys are
mean, I'm
everywhere.
not a real severe, like I've been to the Real Dead twice and the one with John Mayer 3 times, but I'm not, but I did go to the first meeting over there where they used to live. I compared my way out of the rooms what they tell you not to do because I still had an apartment, but barely. I had a rent controlled apartment. I had my cosmetic job at a retail establishment. I was barely getting by, but didn't stay in NA in 97. Then I moved home in 2000 and I lived in Manhattan. And life was pretty good for me then. I was doing drugs, but I was doing like a little bit. I would do opiates, but not, 2 days in a row. I knew how to not get the habit and this and that. And I, would do cocaine and I would do this and do that, but I would never seem to cross the line. I was dancing around the invisible line a lot until I had tried freebase cocaine once and I never touched it again. And then eventually in like '04, the crack cocaine came to my life and I crossed the line that I was not able to return from. And once I knew it got me, I know exactly the time that it happened. It wasn't the first time, second time, third time, it was maybe the fourth time I tried it. It became the obsession and the compulsion. And I knew that I was, going to have to go to rehab and that I would, be done. They called my old man and he paid for me to go to a really good facility out east. And when I went, I bought in. I bought into Narcotics Anonymous, was my fellowship. I did whatever they told me to do. I did my 90 and 90. I got a sponsor. I worked all the steps in the workbook. I got my home group and I did service right away. And I've been going to conventions ever since. I've been to 2 world conventions. I never look back.
And she is decked out right now in NA gear. I mean, like her pants have an NA logo on the butt cheek, like a shirt. She's got a bag. She's like all about it. We love it. Very colorful too. Very colorful.
Thank you. It was the fourth time where I realized I was hooked on it.
Right.
I realized there was no controlling it. Like I said, I was good at using drugs for 29 years, still going to work and still, being able to, manage my life.
Mm-hmm.
Then this drug took over. But I'm not a low bottom addict.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not, my story could have gotten worse. So I ended it pretty quickly. My run with crack cocaine was not very long.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have the prostitution or the jail or any of that in my story. And thank God, because I was already 41. But when I heard those stories when I got here, those stories kept me clean. And that's why I don't pick up, because now at this age, not going to be a good look on me.
Cannot afford it.
No.
Cannot afford it.
So I know the power of the drug. I mean, it was like an almost thing. I mean, I would have done it. I know I would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, am grateful, and I thank my higher power for getting me out of some situations. Cause like I said, I worked in a bar. I dated guys that were active. I mean, I didn't go to the crack house, thank God, but I went around some sticky situations. And, if I didn't have a higher power, I wouldn't have got out of those things clean.
Yeah. In being a recovery coach and peer advocate, what do you think is the most important thing for you in working with other addicts? Because, like you said, other people's experience is that, oh, it's not great for their recovery. How is it for your recovery?
I make sure I'm still very involved. I don't let my job be my program.
Mm.
They say, oh, if you want to get out of your own head, go help someone. All right. So when I get out of work on Thursday night, like this is my only like in person where I have appointments that come into the office, I can be drained because, I'm helping people, and, some of it is, you got to watch out. They call it compassion fatigue or whatever. I've now helped a lot of people. When I leave there, I go to a meeting, and then there might be a newcomer that also needs help. I can't say, well, I already helped enough people. I still go to meetings. Meetings still make sense for me. I am such a visible member. You'll see me at Hicksville. If I'm asked to speak, when you asked me, I was like, let's do it. Um,
You're the person that needed the least convincing, actually, to be part of the
yeah,
podcast. It's very, very honorable.
I'm always willing to, I'm always willing to share. I'm always willing to help somebody. Um, Even though I go out to a lot of concerts and shows, like, festivals, I went to Jazz Fest. I do stuff like that. I surround it in my meetings and in my recovery. I go to that Nassau convention every year. I celebrate my recovery.
What a great convention we had this year.
Oh,
So
this
phenomenal.
year felt almost as good as the first one.
Oh my
It really
God,
was
what
good.
it was the first convention that I had ever been to. The people in the Nassau area, that's the reason why I started this podcast. The people in the Nassau and the Suffolk area are just so impactful. The NANA 24/7 meeting, the virtual
Yes.
meeting was started here. We just had a series in service and recovery for February, and talked to several people who maintain that platform, people who started that platform. And that's what this podcast was all about. The first part of it is telling the stories of the people, right? That's the voices of recovery. And then the other part is for people that have sight disabilities and people who don't read well, don't know how to read, don't have the literature, and only have a phone in their pocket. So you said that you don't let your job replace your recovery, which is very, very insightful, because you're so right that a lot of people can look at their job as like, oh, I did my recovery for the day. But helping that newcomer is so important, specifically in the rooms of NA, right? Because also you need to hear the message. It's not like you need to just deliver the message all day. you need to hear it from other people who have clean time, but also from the newcomer who's just receiving it, right? In
Hmm.
the context of the rooms. It's irreplaceable
Yes.
in my eyes. So tell me how your life has changed since being in this field. The Laurie that was before in her early recovery, bartending, versus the Laurie today.
Well, I did say that I'm just proud to have this title. I'm proud of the agencies that I work for and what they do. We can't reach everybody. When you get a response from, we call them a participant, sometimes we call them a client, that extra thanks for helping them, it just warms your heart when they say you have gone above and beyond what your job requirement is. That will just bring a tear of joy. I had a kid in the office that was stoned, and I didn't have to keep him in my office. I could have sent him away. I showed him actually the 24/7 and the international one are two of my greatest resources that I give in all three jobs. Those flyers are on hand to me all the time because they were important to me in the pandemic, jumping on those virtual meetings. So you asked how my life has changed. So I'm proud of what I do. I'm treated like a human with the paid time off and the vacation and the health insurance. I have a 3-day weekend every weekend.
Wow.
I mean,
Quality of life, right? Just a quality of life improvement.
yeah, but although I liked bartending, like I liked the physicality of it, I liked the social aspect of it.
Yeah, and you also don't have to put up with people getting drunk and
Yeah,
being like in your face and the disease, right? The disease
yeah,
of addiction at
right,
your job.
right. And if I want to go around it, I can, and then I can leave when I want.
Exactly. And instead of promoting the disease of addiction, you're fighting it on the front lines
Yeah,
now. That's probably the most rewarding part.
yeah. I know it's unusual, and when people would hear it, I would say, "Oh, I'm like Sam Malone from Cheers." If you remember the
Of
show
course, yeah.
Cheers, yeah, the sober bartender. But it wasn't even in the dating world. I don't think men were interested in dating a girl that tends bar. It just wasn't a good thing for me. So I'm 4 years out now.
Awesome.
Yeah. And even I think my mom is proud too. I hear her say something like, "My daughter's a social worker." Nowhere near a social worker. But
But you are doing social work. You're
yes,
doing a very important
yes.
aspect of it. And how do you feel like it has impacted your recovery? Like, do you notice a change in your recovery from the first, 16, 15 years to the next 4 or 5 years that you've been working in the field? Do you notice that your recovery is different in any way?
Well, I guess I've just matured. I can't really say because I do keep it separate. Like I am a NA cheerleader. As you can see,
I can see
I'm
that. Yeah.
rocking
The
all the
only thing that you
clothes.
didn't wear was pom poms.
Exactly. Um, it just, meetings still make sense for me. I'm not going anywhere. I make sure that the job doesn't affect my program and my program doesn't, like, I won't take any hours on Wednesday night. That's my home group. Like, I'm not letting my job affect my home group, and I'm not letting the home group affect the job. I do keep them separate. I can go to meetings, like I can bring my clients to meetings, but I try not to invite them to my home group. I try and keep that separate. I'm growing in recovery. And when I hit the 20-year mark, that was just a huge milestone for me. I mean, I certainly made a big deal about it.
As you should. 20
I
years is a long
I
time.
had the flyer made up and I was, hooting and hollering. 21 is not as big of a deal, but
Listen, your recovery is of legal age to consume alcohol at this point. That's pretty amazing. That's
but
pretty
yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I'm gonna keep coming. I'm gonna stay, and I mean, I pretty much make a meeting every day but Sunday. And then Sunday night was a night I used to bartend. So then when I lost the gig, I said I'm keeping Sunday as my day to do, have a nothing day. Monday is an early start for me. Thursday night I picked up the job at Yes, and that was the other bartending night. And sometimes on Saturdays I'll make 3 meetings. I'll go to a morning meeting, I'll go to an 8 o'clock, and I'll even do midnight AA. Um, And if there's an event, I got meeting maker feet. I do.
Well, it's very commendable that you're a person with as much clean time as you have
Mm,
and that you are as active as you are because it's very important for women to see women in the rooms.
mm,
If I'm doing like a rough percentage, I would say it's maybe like 65-35, somewhere around there, right?
yep,
Men to women ratio. And as a woman, if I'm a newcomer, I need somebody to talk to, even if I'm an old timer, right? I'm going through something, I want to look to people who have decades clean, right? You get to say that you have decades clean
hmm,
and to say, I've been through this. I know what it's like to work in a bar for 15 years. And I can tell you that you can change your career path well into your adulthood. And it doesn't matter if you have computer skills or not. It doesn't matter if you weren't a learned person before. It doesn't matter if you didn't go to college. Look at me, I'm doing it.
I know.
So you being in the rooms is a service in and of itself. And just telling your story. I'm so glad that I was able to meet you and hear your story because it's so inspirational to witness a woman doing that. I'm very, very proud of you. And I'm very thankful that we got to have you on to the production. And thank you for giving us your voice.
Thank you once again for having me.
The Voices of Recovery podcast is an independent production of the Works of Wisdom. We welcome your questions and donations via PayPal at voicesofrecoverypod@gmail.com. This podcast is an independent production and is not affiliated with, associated with, authorized by, endorsed by, or in any way officially connected with Narcotics Anonymous or any of its subsidiaries or affiliates. While NA literature may be read during episodes for the purpose of supporting recovery, such use does not constitute an official endorsement or representation by Narcotics Anonymous. In accordance with NA tradition, the NA name is not to be used to endorse or be affiliated with any outside enterprise, and no such endorsement or affiliation is implied. Music is by Sage. Thanks for listening to the Voices of Recovery podcast.